Joining us now is J.R. Romano. He's the head of the Republican Party in the state. J.R., what did you think of the speech today?
Well, I did not listen to it in real time. However, I was able to listen to some of the snippets, and I have to tell you, I am so... It's this feeling of despair for every middle-class family in this state is just asked to pay more. There was no mention of honest and cuts. You know, he talked a little bit about he skirted around some issues, but there was no honest dialogue about where government can actually cut.
And where should that happen? Because he's talking things like buying new state police cruisers every 6 years instead of 4 years. That doesn't seem very realistic, and if it were something that should have been done, it should have happened years ago. That's not crisis reaction. That's routine, you're a few dollars short reaction.
Well, let's not forget, this is the same gentleman who added a position. He added, I can't remember the exact title he gave it, but he also gave a raise to whoever he picked to be his transportation.
It was like a couple $100,000 raise.
Yeah, I think it's well over $200,000, and so I honestly think, and I know that this is facetious, and people may not believe me, but I honestly believe that Dan Malloy set up whoever was going to be the next governor to be in a lose-lose situation. I honestly believe that, and I think what's going to happen with Ned Lamont is that he has this progressive caucus who is going to demand free everything, which we know is not free. He's going to demand that we raise taxes on the wealthy, and then you're going to have these other Democrats who kind of understand the economy a little bit. They're going to be in an all-out war, and what's going to end up happening is the middle class of the state's going to suffer. Our economy is going to continue to be weaker, and my friends and family in the Valley are going to pay. That's what's going to end up happening because they can't be honest. And what I've learned in 20 years of doing this is that the idea of tribalism within the Democratic Party, it's Democrat Party first, not state, not country. Democrat Party first. So nothing else really matters, and you can see it in the way that they behave. Look at what's happening where you have the Progressive Caucus is saying we need to tax the wealthy more. We need to tax the wealthy more. Not one of them introduced legislation to call on their own wealthy members of their caucus to forego all the perks and benefits of being a state legislature, like a pension, like a salary, like the mileage reimbursements.
Yeah.
Nor have they called on Dick Blumenthal, who, by the way, forgoes federal Senate benefits because the Connecticut benefits are richer.
They're just so rich.
The federal government. I don't want yours. The ones I get from Connecticut are better. They haven't called on him to give back.
Yeah.
So there's such this disingenuous idea of how the Democrats lead this state.
Yeah, it's kind of it's scary, tragic, all those things combined. Do you have a feeling that the governor doesn't know all this? Do you underestimate his consciousnness?
I think for Ned Lamont, and I'm not trying to be kind of, I don't know. He reminds me of Ned Flanders, right? This like this kind of he's kinder and he says these things much nicer. And at the end of the day, the idea of being governor of the state of Connecticut for someone in Greenwich, this isn't about I know I'll be governor. This is going to be hard work. You're going to have to roll up your sleeves, have a backbone, and tell the unions of this state they need to give up concessions, or we're going to court. You're going to need to look at in the eyes of your progressive caucus and say, "Knock it off. Our state is falling apart." And I don't think he has that courage.
But why would he want to? That's not the business model for the party.
Well, I think at the end of the day, what Ned also realizes is that he doesn't want to have the same legacy as Dan Malloy, which is a legacy of utter failure. This is a guy who his name was on a library at Harvard before he even showed up. He doesn't want to be labeled a failure the way that Dan Malloy was, which is why he's kind of playing footsie with a lot of the Republicans, right? He knows if he can bring them along, and he can get enough Democrats, he can get something passed. But what that's going to take is him really wrestling hard with his own Democrat caucus.
You would envision that happening at some point, like maybe in 2 years?
I don't think he's got a choice.
But it doesn't seem to be in his character to do it, and he certainly hasn't prepared the groundwork to demonstrate that he's going to put that kind of squeeze on his own people.
Oh, he was incapable of... He lacked the courage to announce the toll switch at a press conference. He did it on a Facebook Live on a Saturday and a long holiday weekend.
Well, didn't you think that was an attempt to to wish it away, that maybe nobody would notice?
It's a show of weakness.
Wow.
Because
all right.
I mean, and the tolls, here's what makes me laugh about, and this is what you have to, when you're dealing with wealthier Democrats. I don't know, I know you and I talked a little bit offline. There was a comment made by this new Democrat from Greenwich who said, I know the majority of my constituents in my district, which is wealthy Greenwich, favor electronic tolls, the senator said. My constituents are more sophisticated, intelligent, and understand the cost of not having tolls.
All right, so there's a nice hateful remark from the compassion crowd, but did you hear this one from the governor? I'm sorry about all the applause, but you could just hear how thrilled everybody was with the speech. All right, Ned, go ahead.
And passing, while I'm at it, passing paid family and medical leave program will ensure that workers...
I made you listen to all that, and I wasn't even at the right place in the cut. Here it is.
$15 minimum wage enacted responsibly and over time will raise wages for almost a third of our workforce, a third of whom are female workers.
Listen.
40% are African American. Oh. Half are Hispanic. Let's give them a shot.
Let's give them a shot.
At what? A shot
women, blacks, and
education.
What's that?
Well, a shot isn't, hey, pal, here's a couple more quarters an hour. Right? A shot would be providing programs where they can get educated. All these people can get educated to not be a cashier, but maybe a mechanic, maybe an electrician, so that they're earning $40 an hour, not $15. And you know what the saddest part about all this thump, they bang their chest, we care about people. You know what's going to end up happening when we raise the minimum wage? The people earning minimum wage, which are in fact struggling, and we have to find a way to help them. There's no question in my mind. However, while they get a raise and the prices of everyday goods rise, now you couple that with tolls, taxes, so now you have the government raising our cost on us through property tax, sales tax, all the things that they want to do, and now you put on a minimum wage which will also increase the cost of goods. And so what will end up happening is that the people earning $15 an hour won't feel those increases. Their life won't improve, but milk will be $4 a gallon, so they don't feel it. But the single mom who's working as a dental hygienist, living in Meriden, working in Waterbury, or a teacher who's working in Meriden, living in Hartford, whatever it may be, they didn't get a raise. So now they have, at the end of every
but their costs go up just like everybody else's, right? So the cost goes up for the dental technician, but she doesn't get the raise to help her deal with it.
Correct. And so she has less and less money. So what ends up happening, it extends out her student loan. She has to wait longer in order to buy a house, maybe buy a new car, maybe fix that window or that air conditioner in her home. Because what this is about, and this is where Democrats, particularly wealthy Democrats, don't understand the idea of cash flow. When you're taking more of someone's biweekly check in order to buy simple groceries, that means they don't have liquidity. They can't go do the things that makes an economy strong.
Now, JR, we're talking to JR Romano, the head of the Republican Party in the state. I assume you're talking right now, the scenario you're describing is before the tolls kick in.
Correct. We're not even talking about those increases, right? So let's say that there's no increase in minimum wage, that everything stays the same except we get two things. We get an increase of the sales tax by 2%, and we get tolls. Let's say a teacher who makes about $60,000 a year on average lives in Meriden and works in Hartford. So basically right now, for those that don't know, the state of Connecticut pays about, you as a resident of the state of Connecticut, about 12.6% of your income goes to state and local taxes. That's all in, everything. That's what the analysis is. 12.6% of your earnings goes to the state of Connecticut right now, right? And we think agents are greedy at 10%. Anyway, so that means that teacher, on average, pays about $7,100 a year in state and local taxes. Just tolls and, say, a 2% increase on sales tax will take that to about $8,300 a year. Now, that's tolls to work. That doesn't include any leisure time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're asking a single mom who lives in Meriden, works in Hartford, to pay an additional $1,200 a year in just tolls and sales tax.
But, JR, that's because they love working families. They've got so much compassion. All right, thank you for joining us, sir. It's always good to get your analysis. J.R. Romano, the head of the Republican Party. Thank you. We'll talk to you.